Condo games are widely considered the single most dangerous phenomenon in Roblox's history. They weren't just rule-breaking games. They were deliberately engineered exploit hubs using third-party tools. Creators stripped away Roblox's chat filters, animation limits, and content detection systems. What replaced them was a space filled with explicit sexual animations, graphic roleplay, and unfiltered conversations that openly violated platform rules. What made condo games truly dangerous wasn't just the content, but who they attracted. These games became gathering points for predators who specifically targeted younger players. Childlike avatars were intentionally used, blurring boundaries and normalizing inappropriate behavior. Because these servers were private and constantly renamed, moderation struggled to keep up. For players, the risk was extreme. Joining could mean exposure to content, manipulation, group attempts, and instant permanent bans, even if the player did nothing wrong. Condo games exposed a dark reality. Roblox could be weaponized from the inside. Crosswoods was not dangerous by accident, it was malicious by design. The game was uploaded like any other normal experience, but hidden inside were scripts meant to hijack player behavior. The moment someone joined, their avatar was forced to send slurs and banned phrases into public chat. Players had no control, no warning, and no way to stop it. Roblox's automated moderation system immediately responded by banning the accounts, not realizing the players were victims. Thousands of users lost accounts they had spent years building. The scale of the damage forced Roblox to do something almost unheard of: manually reverse bans and publicly acknowledge a system failure. Crosswoods revealed a terrifying truth. A Roblox game could be used as a digital trap, turning innocent players into rule breakers without consent. Early versions of the streets became dangerous because they replicated real-world criminal culture too closely. The game encouraged gang identities, territorial conflict, intimidation, and weapon use. At first, it seemed like exaggerated roleplay, but as the community grew, the roleplay stopped feeling fictional. Players formed real Discord gangs tied to their in-game identities. Conflicts spilled outside the game, leading to harassment campaigns, voice chat intimidation, and real-life threats. Some players were targeted repeatedly, followed across servers, and pressured to reveal personal information. The line between game and reality collapsed. The danger of the streets wasn't the weapons or mechanics. It was how easily toxic social behavior became real psychological harm. Meep City was dangerous precisely because it looked safe. Its bright colors, pets, and casual social gameplay attracted millions of young players. But beneath that friendly surface was a system with almost no control over private spaces. Houses and parties allowed players to isolate others away from public moderation. Meep City became infamous for online dating culture, suggestive behavior, and groups often involving minors. Players reported uncomfortable interactions, manipulation, and pressure to move conversations off-platform. Parents and younger users underestimated the risks because nothing about the game looked threatening. Meep City became one of the clearest examples of how social games can become unsafe without visible warning signs. Survive the Killer itself wasn't dangerous, but its popularity made it a perfect target. Exploiters created near-identical copies using the same thumbnails, names, and descriptions. To players, there was no obvious difference. Once inside, these fake games activated malicious scripts. Some injected messages into chat to trigger moderation. Others abused sound systems to overwhelm players or lag their clients. In the worst cases, accounts were flagged or punished simply for being present. These fake versions demonstrated how trust in familiar games could be exploited, turning ordinary players into victims without their knowledge. The apartment became dangerous not because of what it showed, but because of what it allowed to happen unseen. On the surface, it was a simple role-play game where players rented rooms, interacted socially, and lived out virtual apartment life. But its core design flaw was the emphasis on locked private rooms combined with minimal real-time moderation. These private spaces allowed players to isolate others away from public view. Over time, reports began surfacing of stalking behavior, manipulation, coercive role-play, and repeated harassment occurring behind closed doors. Some players described being followed across servers, pressured into uncomfortable scenarios, or guilt-tripped into staying in private rooms. Because nothing illegal or explicit was always visible, moderation rarely intervened until damage was already done. The apartment demonstrated how privacy without safeguards can become a tool for abuse, especially on a platform dominated by minors. Apeirophobia marked a shift in Roblox horror from simple scares to sustained psychological pressure. While the original game focused on atmosphere inspired by liminal spaces, extreme and modified versions amplified every element designed to induce fear. Players were trapped in endless maze-like environments with no clear exits, creating a sense of hopelessness rather than tension. Audio cues were often sudden, excessively loud, and unpredictable, triggering real panic responses. Chase sequences were extended far beyond normal gameplay limits, removing any sense of safety or control. Younger players reported intense fear reactions, panic attacks, and lingering anxiety after leaving the game. Because these versions didn't always violate content rules directly, they often remained online longer than exploit-based games. Apeirophobia proved that psychological harm can exist even in rule-compliant experiences, making it one of the most quietly dangerous horror games on the platform. Private exploit trap games represent the most invisible threat Roblox has ever faced. These games were never meant to be discovered through the platform's search system. Instead, they were distributed through YouTube comments, Discord servers, fake giveaways, and direct messages promising rare items, Roblox, or secret experiences. Once a player joined, the game would silently execute malicious scripts. Some tracked player IDs and session behavior. Others intentionally triggered automated moderation systems, flagging accounts without the player doing anything visible. In more severe cases, accounts were compromised or permanently banned with no clear explanation. Victims often had no evidence to appeal with, making recovery nearly impossible. These games were dangerous because they looked harmless, felt normal, and left no warning signs.